WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We're positively out at the Full Moon Pub and Grill, Reisterstown. Like, it's sort of officially, it's not Main Street, it's not downtown, but it's right around the corner on the way to Westminster, where I used to go to training camp, and where Ross Peddicord and I met many, many years ago at the Baltimore Sun, 501 North Calvary. We take a break here. And this is the way it always works when green room. It's like Moeller when he's around. green rooming. Cricket Goodall is here. Ross Peddicord, they're our guests. All brought to you by our friends at Goodwill, Win Donation, our friends at the Maryland Lottery, making it all happen around here. I got scratch-offs and the Restaurant Association. We're losing pay. It's okay. We got fans blowing. It's 158 degrees and we're outside here. Cricket, you said the smartest thing the minute the thing went down. You're like, you guys worked at the paper. There must have been some real characters there. We were two of them.
I can only bet. I knew a few of them, and they were
Sylvia Badger, Kevin Cowherd, Linnell Smith.
Clem, but Clem Floria, was Clem still there?
Clem was gone.
We wrote an article about him, and it won an Eclipse Award, which is the top journalism award in the horse racing. Vinny Perone.
He was in the press box. They were all in the press box at the racetrack.
The day that Clem died, Vinny and I were in touch with each other, and Vinny said to me, I'll never forget it. He said, I can't believe that a force of energy like that could ever be
extinguished.
You know what I mean?
It's just like you, Nestor. How are you ever going to be extinguished?
I love Clem, right?
Yeah.
So when I worked at my first, it's 31 years.
Everybody loved him.
Well, we're celebrating 31 years on the radio, and I started in December of '91 doing radio, and on the station I was on, WITH, Clem did the race reports for Big Band Radio. Oh, you baby doll from Enrico's of Highlandtown. Oh, baby doll. So Clem would, do his whole thing. Mama Lucia, you go see them for the pizza. So Clem would bowl, do the
bocce
bowling in Little Italy right next to Amici's, and Amici's was my sponsor. So my son was born in '84, so this is probably 94, 95, 96. I'm on the radio. Clem's my racing guy. And Clem would meet me on Friday night at Amici's with all his Goombas, and they were playing their baleen, and, out there pitching and whatnot. Clem was one of all of my lifetime. Clem was one of my favorite people I've ever met.
Yeah.
Clem was amazing.
Then you had Dale
Charlie
Austin.
Ekman, Larry King used to be in the press box.
I would love to have seen that.
Oh,
Larry
my God.
King.
He was there just about every day for maybe the early
amazing.
80s
Yeah,
or something like that.
I saw your cousin play ball.
Right.
Best ball player I've ever seen. So Larry King. When he died a couple years ago, I was one of Larry King's.
Larry King is dead?
Larry King died.
Yeah,
okay.
he did.
Yeah, the day he died, he wrote about me in the USA Today. He called my book a good read.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
I was one of King's things one day. So, like that.
That's amazing.
That's right up there.
Thank God he got it in there before he died.
It's right up there, like with singing with the Smithereens. Ross Peddicord is here. The highlights of working together at the Sun and doing this. You said you went to Mount St. Mary's. Then you were always into horse racing and into horsing. Stuart gets involved. What is this? Give me soup to nuts, Cricket, both of you get after this, as to what people are going to find when they come to Reisterstown, what they can find online, and all the things that, besides just loving these animals and promoting the animals, what all of this represents. Because you told me I'm doing it. I've done none of the research. Moeller will attest to that. I haven't read any of this. Tell me about it.
My group does horseback riding. Cricket's group does thoroughbred racing and breeding.
Yeah, so... And we are in historic Reisterstown with our new building, our Library and Education Center, which we are renovating an old church, and we have our offices and meeting rooms will be open in about a month. It's a very, very big project for the Maryland Horse Breeders Association because we've been hoping for a long time to have a place. And we settled in the historic part of Main Street, Maryland Main Street in Reisterstown.
How did that happen? Why Reisterstown?
Because I live near here, and I drove by one day and saw this wonderful building, and I went to my board of directors and I said, I think this would be great. It's an old church, so it's got a very...
I was in an old church last night drinking beer. The Ministry of Brewing. So...
Well, maybe it'll be the Ministry of Horses, but anyway.
I'll bring beer.
It's just got a lot of character, and it's a great... The Reisterstown Improvement Association has really focused on that section, couple blocks of Reisterstown called the Maryland Main Street. It's one of Maryland's.
I usually just stop at the cow place and get the ice.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
We have ice cream. We have, right next door, we have snowballs. Right across the road is the Harriman House. I go there all the time. It's just a great place, and it's convenient. For us, it's convenient because you get on 795 and go down to Laurel. Lovely Laurel, as you said. You go straight down Reisterstown Road and go to Pimlico. You go over the hill towards Butler and Timonium and see all the beautiful horse farms, the Maryland Hunt Cup course, which is the most famous timber race.
I always wanted to go to Hunt Cup. Am I missing out on Hunt Cup?
You need to
You
go.
need to go at least once, yes, and
you
see
need
all
to go.
the fences and everything. We can fix that. We can get that
Yeah,
fixed
yeah,
up
we can.
for you.
We're gonna
My
get.
wife and I talk Hunt Cup every year. Like, it's on our radar, kind of like the Albuquerque hot air balloons. One day.
You need
One
to see
day.
it.
It's like Deep Creek. One day,
Right.
and then we did it.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's outdoors. It's beautiful. It's in the most prime horse country in Baltimore County. So we celebrate that with our library and education center. We have five. We're going to have
You're gonna
5,000
do videos and all sorts of
5,000
stuff.
books in the library. We'll have an AV room where we can have you come up and do podcasts. We'll digitize photos and films and be a repository for all the history with not just thoroughbreds, all kinds of horses, because as Ross said, there's just a broad scope of horse people and horse activities in Maryland, and we love them all. So that's how we ended up there, and we are very, very happy. As the brochure, as you said, celebrating the past,
Open to the public.
nurturing
Did both
the
of you grow up
future.
with horses? I haven't asked you about your childhood or where it is. We talked about my wife riding horses and stuff, but it just feels to me like you're born into this.
I know. I
to
had
do it.
cows. I grew up with cows.
I do.
Okay.
I rode horses when I was little,
But
and
you're both farm people.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I moved to a farm when I got interested in horses, but as a little girl, now I mean.
The horse brought you to the farm.
Yeah, absolutely. And once you get that sort of work ethic, like Ross said, if you get kids involved early and they love what they're doing, they don't realize that it's a lot of work every day, all day. They learn a work ethic. They learn to appreciate animals, and it's a very good learning opportunity where you don't have to feel like kids you're teaching. They're learning it because they love it, and that's why all these people that have.
And we have all these lesson barns across
lesson barns
the state and every county, places where kids can go, and we welcome.
And they take horses out to. There's groups that take them out to schools. The City Ranch in Baltimore City. We have a big tented
Well,
area.
that's Baltimore positive. You're talking about.
It
you know,
is. It's
I mean,
absolutely.
just like stuff that you might not know about unless you know about it, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And it's just such a good opportunity and healthy for everybody.
Maryland is a great state. It's a real educational state. I mean, we have great schools here. That goes into the horse industry. We have very welcoming, very kind. You know, people think horses are elitist.
No,
To a
not at all.
degree, they
Yeah.
can be as much as you want to put money into it. But
They don't have to
everywhere
be.
we go, all across the state, we have these farms that welcome everybody in to learn about horses. It's unbelievable. And they really want to. We have 800, of these stables.
And Maryland was the first to license the riding stables, and other states have
We
copied
inspect
that.
them, and we have relationships with all of these folks. We have horse discovery centers.
Where
We have
people can just
45
go out
of
and
those,
visit
where
and
people can
stop
go out
in.
and visit. I mean, it's
So,
terrific.
Maryland really appreciates what we have here with the infrastructure, not only the actual tracks and stables, but the people, because the people are who are passionate about it and willing to take the time. It's hard work. Farming in general is very hard work, whether you're
That's
growing.
why I don't do it.
Yeah, whether you're
That's what it is.
growing, corn or whether you have cattle. And I think that the people who do it really love it, and if they don't love it, they're probably moved on
And
to
they're
something
happy
else.
to share it with other
Yeah,
folks.
yeah.
That's been the best thing that I've learned. I mean, how kind everybody is.
and
They want to
there's-
share all their knowledge.
There's so much to celebrate. We're doing that with our library, but there's really opportunities to have a Preakness museum. I mean, there's other things that we're not. We need a Preakness museum. I mean, they have a Kentucky Derby museum. They have there's other things.
How do
But
you guys feel about the Preakness and what's gone on here in recent times? I mean, Ross, I'll take the show back 10 weeks to Preakness week where the Derby winner doesn't come. You and I probably met right around Spend a Buck. Right around 85.
really?
Literally,
Okay.
right? Spend a Buck was 85, and then Ferdinand after that, and, Ali Sheba, and, those horses of that era. Sunday Silence came a little later, but, 85, 86, it was the biggest story in sports that the Derby winner was skipping to Preakness.
it was.
Now, to me, it's not the biggest story in sports, but the more I talk about it, the more we talk about what's good for these horses, the more we talk about what trainers want, what billionaires want when they own these multi-million-dollar horses, that 2 weeks and 3 weeks, maybe we're doing it wrong. What do you think of that? If you're writing a column right now, what would you be writing about the industry?
First, let me go to Spend a Buck. I was at this big fancy horse event called the Badminton Horse Trials 2 years ago in England. The top U.S. horse was a son of Spendabuck, jumping over these big fences in England. Anyway, I digress.
37 years later.
And
It
that
was
was a
hilarious.
bonus. That was a bonus that attracted him to lead. That was, they put out a
That
whole.
was chicanery.
Well,
Literally.
exactly.
It was
That's a little
it was
different.
a Jersey move, as,
Yeah,
as I
yeah.
remember it.
But
So-
going back to the Triple Crown, I'm a traditionalist. I don't think they should change the way it is. The Derby, then 2 weeks the Preakness, and it's all within 5 weeks. It takes an exceptional horse to do that. And,
But can you blame, if it's your horse that wins the Derby,
I do not blame the folks that bypassed it this year because they knew their horse.
Right.
And he only races well in between races. I mean, with a lot of
So
time in between races.
Yeah, they made a good decision
so they
for their
made
horse.
a decision out of the love for their horse and knowing their horse. So I don't blame them at all.
That, like Ross said, it has to be the right horse.
It
and I
has
think
to be the right
traditionally it is working because we've had Triple Crown winners recently. So it's not like it hasn't
he
worked.
might have been cheating.
Justify.
No,
Well, American
I
Pharaoh.
know,
American Pharaoh does not.
Baffert comes on with me every year. I mean, I know Bob well.
Right.
Bob answers the phone. Bob comes on. Bob came on with me with roses and all that stuff. The next morning, he got thrown out a year and a half ago.
Wow.
So this is during the plague. I like Bob, but I think when I bring on Randy Moss, and
Randy Moss is great.
and he says to me, horse racing has a doping problem. This is a journalist saying to me, there's a problem going on here. And look, man.
Nestor, I
football's got
covered
problems this
racing
week.
40, 50 years ago. It was a problem then.
Yeah.
It's been a problem
There-
forever. I mean,
Now the
it's-
federal government is involved in oversight and trying to make uniform medication, address any problems. There are going to be people who are always on the wrong side of that. I personally don't think Baffert is. I think he got caught up in a firestorm of controversy. But the reality is it will be harder and harder to cheat, and that's a good thing because you need a level playing field. But that doesn't mean that every horse that runs in the Derby is going to run in the Preakness, because if it isn't right for that horse and the trainer and owner know that, that's a good thing. You can't
That's what makes it so
you can't
extraordinary
require
when
them
American
to
Pharaoh
run.
comes along
Yeah, you can't
after 37 years and wins. I mean,
you can't
know.
require the whole field to come, because if in that case it would have been the wrong decision for that horse. So I agree with Ross. I think it should stay the same. Actually, I think Randy Moss thinks
But if
they
we
need
get
to.
into this where 3 out of every 5 are skipping it because trainers don't believe it's in their horse's best interest to do it, under normal circumstances in the modern era, horses don't race like that. They don't come back in 2 weeks, right? Very few do.
Very few do, but but you know,
just
you can
changing the
look at it. Is that the way? Because people are training horses differently. You have all the debate about breeding the wrong
breed
but-
weakening?
But I don't.
And-
I mean, I think if you look back at old time trainers, and Ross will recognize a lot of them. And I mean
I'm
old. I
old.
mean like Frank Whiteley's. Way forego. They trained differently, and their horses were. They challenged them early and often. They trained them by racing. A lot of times now people train and train and train a horse, and then they race it. In the old days, instead of a work between races, they would race the horse again, and that would be his training
Work,
mechanism. That doesn't happen anymore, whether that's just...
Well, pitchers don't go 7 innings either. Literally, I mean, things have changed, and
Yeah, so I don't know.
I'm just worried about that. I'm worried about the thing that sucked me in, right, as a kid was the Derby
Well, it's all
and the
good
Triple
points,
Crown.
Nestor.
And,
I think it's
you
all
know,
good, arguable points.
when
I'm
things are
old.
bad
I'm a
there,
traditionalist.
It doesn't help you, though. I guess my point is that is the star of horse racing, right? That's the thing we all stop for, and the thing people notice the most. I want that to be as strong as it can be for everybody.
I think everybody does. I think the economics of racing have changed. I mean, in the Spendabuck era, the bonus they hung out for him was so huge he couldn't ignore it. Well, now that's a purse on some of these races. So you've got a whole different evaluation from the owner and trainer standpoint, and I would think that most of the time they're going to try for the Triple Crown if they think it's not going to be detrimental to their horse. You'll see now the big races in Saratoga and Del Mar and all these places, if the trainers, they want to go for the money, but they're not going to damage their horse to do that, and that's admirable, really. I mean, you can't look at it as a bad thing. You have to say they're making the right choice.
And maybe, the Triple Crown winners are a freak of nature.
Yeah,
well,
that could
great.
be.
They're a freak of nature, and we celebrate
Yeah.
that. And they're not your everyday thoroughbred
It's-
anymore.
it's-
I mean,
Everybody has different opinions, but The industry has changed so much, and the economics of it is what has.
I'm reading this book right now.
What are you reading?
It's about Lexington, who was one of the greatest horses of all time from the 1850s, and they used to run him in 2 heats.
Yeah.
A race was 2 heats,
Yeah.
2-mile heats. And then 4 days later, they would run him in a 4-mile race.
Yeah.
His skeleton is in the Smithsonian Institute in D.C. as one of the great species of animals of all time. This is a great book, by the way. Read it.
Geraldine Brooks,
Pulitzer Prize-winning author. Nestor, I'll give you this
Just
book,
out.
but I haven't finished
Just
reading
out.
it yet.
Yeah.
When I finish, I'll
I thought
give
you were
it.
giving it to our library.
See, he offered.
You
I'll
can
buy-
borrow it, and then
I'll
you
buy
can.
another. I'll buy another copy.
You don't want to give me a library card. I'll never check it back in.
Cricket's downloading it on Kindle.
Yeah, I'm like.
I still read books.
Cricket Goodall's here. We also have Ross Peddicord.
I got to talk about Marilyn Million.
I'm
at some
embarrassed
point,
that I haven't
too.
had Ross on more often. It's
Oh,
my
please.
31st year in radio. I had you on a little bit early in my career.
I've been on Roderick's podcast.
Oh, okay. So we'll talk about Roderick. He says to me, "Seen Roderick lately?" Last year on the tour, a little different than this year. This year we're doing breweries, we're doing crab cakes, I'm doing friends, I'm doing a lot of these conversations. Last year was more like the plague was going on. I had never been to Deep Creek. I had never been to Antietam. I had never been really to Hagerstown off of 7.
You know, tourism picked up in Garrett County during the pandemic.
I bet.
I
Because
had-
people wanted to go out.
I had never been to
I
Crisfield.
bet.
I had never been to Smith
Ah.
Island.
Oh,
We
wow.
went down and made Smith Island cakes with Marietta in her kitchen,
Yeah.
right? We did all of these cool
Nice.
things last year. And, I guess for this year, I'm doing snakehead fishing a little later on in
Okay,
Vienna,
then.
Virginia with my childhood friend. But last year I wanted to go crabbing and didn't. I'm doing that with Tony Conrad on the 27th. Last year I wanted to go fly fishing.
Ah,
I had gone to Yellowstone with my wife to see Pearl Jam, and we went out to that part of the world, to Montana.
you know who is a great fly fisherman? Paul Reed Smith, who does the guitar.
The guitars?
You should go fly fishing with Paul Reed Smith.
I'd
Set
love
that
to do
up.
that, too.
I will.
We'll take Roderick's.
Sounds great.
Is he a fly
Do you
fisherman?
remember Lefty?
And Jay Griswold, who's on our board. He is a great fly fisherman, too. He goes to Canada every
I
year.
wanna be a part of
great.
that.
I'm not great. I just want to
You
go do
go.
it.
Yeah, me too. I've never done
We'll
it. So.
arrange that.
Well, Roderick's does it, and I knew he did it.
Right.
And I was looking for a celebrity to join me, and his son, Nick, is like a real guide.
Wow.
Oh, is
out
he?
on the Savage River.
Oh, huh.
So we
Wow.
set it all up, and then his kid blows his Achilles.
Uh,
Like 3 weeks before we went. So Dan brought waders, rods, Lefty Craze accent, because, he and Lefty, and I knew Lefty, right? So Lefty used to invite me fly fishing, and it's like you invited me horse riding. I didn't take anybody.
Right.
You guys were just the old guys. All I wanted to do was chase girls, go to Hammerjacks,
Right.
go to the beach, watch the Orioles play, right? Literally, that's all I
That
did.
was his son, all
That
these
was my
old
life in
guys.
1988, right? So Roderick's takes us fly fishing out on the upper Potomac. Went to a town called Luke, Maryland, Williamsport and Luke, Maryland, right, where the paper mill was. And
That's where the ancestors of that great swimmer, Michael Phelps, are from. Luke,
Really?
Maryland, yeah.
I did not
His
know that.
grandparents.
So we threw on the waders. We went out there, and Dan had me going 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And I learned how to, and we caught
Nice.
one little rainbow trout. It's about as
Wow.
big as my hand. Roderick and I took a picture. So I saw Dan last year.
I'd love
Great.
to try that.
Well, this was part of my sort of journey in doing this. So don't tell anyone I've never been on a horse, okay? What would you, if I came out, what would you do with a 53-year-old tenderfoot, soft ass like myself? And I come out, because my wife would love to do this.
Uh-oh.
So give me the experience of what would
Be
make,
nice, Ross. Be nice.
I know it's going to hurt down here, all right, day after. But what are you going to do for me, Ross?
Oddly enough,
Oddly enough.
3 miles from here is a farm called Full Moon Farm.
That's right. I forgot
Is there
about
a brewery nearby?
There might be.
There might be. I'm sure there is.
We'll make
Yeah,
one. I'll
Michael
bring a
Harrison's
cooler.
brewery is
Yeah,
near
yeah,
here.
that's
bring
in
a
Butler.
cooler.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, yeah, we could do a brewery horse farm riding thing. Anyway,
That sounds a little scary.
Full Moon Farm, they teach about 200 students a week
Lots of
horseback
people.
riding.
Lots of good
They
people.
have indoor rings, outdoor rings,
Friendly horses.
friendly horses,
Very
and we can set that up where you would come out and get an introductory ride with
What's
a
the
horse.
first thing I need to know? Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Learn how to fall.
You know what?
No,
That's
don't
the
fall.
number one thing we did a study, and the number one thing that people are afraid of, horses. It's not the expense, it's not the clothes they have to get. The number one thing is, and because we do this all the time, we're not afraid of them, but the number one thing, obstacle to people getting involved in horses is they're afraid of
Just
them.
because they're big, and they
They're
might
big.
step on them. I mean, it's not just
1996
falling off.
All-Star game, all right? It's about like this, 150 degrees. Middle of July, 1996, I'm up in Philadelphia, and I got my
Right.
press pass, and I'm covering.
Right.
Right, I'm there, and I'm underneath Veterans Stadium, and there's a big white police horse underneath there, right?
Right.
And there were a lot of people, a lot of kids, autographs. It was underneath that little canopy,
Right.
Veterans Stadium, and I couldn't get out of the way. And this guy, I feel it on my foot
Oh, he
right
stepped
now.
on your foot.
Like I feel it in the bone on my third metatarsal.
Oh, no.
I'm not even doctorish, but it stepped right.
Oh, that's what everybody's
and
afraid
at
of.
that moment, the horse got on me, and I'm like, please get off, please, please,
Oh.
please, little buddy, please, little buddy.
You didn't
know?
scream and like cry like a little boy.
I was as black as his shirt. I mean, it was purple. It was black. It was before the Ravens were in town. I didn't want my foot to be purple, and so I've been stepped on. I mean, you
well,
don't
that-
forget.
This is
you
why-
don't forget when a horse
That
steps on
This
you.
is why we have horse discovery
Yeah.
centers.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is where people go for their first experience.
They're not going to
with
let
them.
that happen.
And you learn, horses are not like motorbikes where you get on and run them.
It's in the bumper car. Yeah, I got you.
They're human. They're not human beings, but they're
Animals,
sentient
yeah.
beings.
they're sensitive beings, and you have to learn a little bit about the horse before you get on and ride it. And, you have to
They do tune into your nervousness and stuff. I mean, that's why
They're very forgiving
They're-
and lovely animals.
they're
to be
used.
around.
They're using them a lot for veterans, for emotional support animals and autistic kids, and because horses really key into your.
I do that with my
Your
cat.
s-
My cat.
Exactly.
You know,
Well, it's the same idea,
Only
but
a horse is bigger than your cat,
And-
unless
and-
you have a real big cat.
and people can really
You
connect.
have like a tiger
she's
cat.
beautiful.
Or,
No,
okay.
she's a little calico.
Do you have a
She's
dog?
Doesn't
Yesterday was her fifth birthday.
doesn't
We
hurt when
gave
she
her special
steps on
chicken
your
treats.
foot. Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
I almost went to Franco's and got her some shrimp from that. She loves that. Ross Peddicord is here. He's the executive director of the Maryland Horse Industry Board. Cricket Goodall is here. She's the executive director of the Maryland Million Limited Maryland Horse Breeders Association. So I'm top of mind here when I see Maryland Million.
Maryland Million.
When I think Maryland
Jim
Million, I think of
McKay.
Jim McKay.
Of course.
That's all. Now Jim
Of
came to my
course.
Jim listened to my show.
I bet.
So when Jim McKay told me in like 1998, Nestor, I listen to you almost every day.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, I better watch my language. You know, I better straighten up.
Yeah.
Larry
But-
King and Jim McKay.
No, I
Yeah.
Oh,
love,
my God.
I
Yeah.
love old people. You know this, right? Old people love me. No, Jim McKay, when I think of the Maryland Million, I think of Jim. And I
Well-
think
Right.
Jim came to my studio right at the beginning, when
I'm
it was
sure.
getting going in 97, 98.
Well, it started earlier than that because he went out to California to the Breeders' Cup in '85.
and so we're bringing that here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
And so we got going the first one in 1986, and Jim was there at every one. You know, after that, we switched. We started at Laurel, went to Pimlico, back and forth for a few years, and now we're at Laurel in the fall of every year. This year's October 22nd. And
So he would say, spanning the state to bring you the constant
exactly.
variety of horse.
Well, and if you noticed, whenever he
perfect.
was on
We ought to
TV,
use that as our logo.
The thrill
for the
of
horse
victory.
board.
yeah, that is good.
Yeah.
But he, if he was at the British Open or what, he'd always just get something in about Maryland and sometimes horses everywhere he went. He'd always, because he loved it, and he was so proud of Maryland.
And he had a
Million.
horse farm.
He
here,
did have a horse farm in Moncton.
up in Harford County.
Whenever I see his son, Sean, who
Right.
runs
Yeah,
CBS,
yeah.
I see him, I get incredible warmth because
Yeah.
of how much his dad liked me.
Well, and Sean's
You know, like literally, his dad and I. Jim McKay could not have been any more magnanimous. And he knew I knew Stedman, too. So there was a
Yeah,
little bit of
yeah.
that, you know.
Stedman is great.
John and I.
Yeah.
So this weekend, I'm going to, I know you know this place because you drive places. Do you know Buddy Lou's in Hancock, Maryland? Buddy Lou's?
Yes, I've
Up on the hill,
yes,
it's an antique
yes.
shop. And
We have horse farms right in Hancock.
okay. Well, Hancock, if you make a right, you're in Pennsylvania. You make a left, you're in West Virginia.
Right.
Like
Oh.
literally, Hancock's, literally a mile.
Yeah.
2 miles deep.
Drive
right?
down that main
so
street, there's
Buddy
one-
Lou's Antique. I went in there last year, and my wife and I just like freaky places. We like different places. It's a lot like Full Moon, really. It's indoor, outdoor,
Right.
but the basement and the rooftop are antique.
Oh, wow.
And,
Sounds great.
And books and used cool.
Right.
Nice. That sounds fun.
Kind of
Yeah.
stuff, right? And they have a kids area and a little,
Wow,
windmill, whatever. I went in and Stedman's book was in there last year.
Oh, my God.
And I saw it, and I was going to buy it, but I thought I might already had it. And it turns out it's the one of the 3 or 4 that I don't have. So I left it there. I kind of hid it a little bit. And I'm like, I'm going to do the tour again. I'm going back on Saturday night at 8 o'clock. And I'm looking to get that book.
Wow.
And if that book's not
Let's
there,
hope it's still there.
yeah, I'm going to be really upset. I mean, I got a 20 right here.
Right.
You know, I'm ready to buy. This is part of the going back and doing it again. But these relationships, man, the people we met 35 years ago, I'm really appreciative of you coming out today, being
It's
a great
so much
guest
fun.
with us today.
Well, Jim McKay wrote a book, too. Did you have his book? The Sport of, I forget what
Kings?
it's called.
No.
But
Sort of
I don't know
No?
if it is The Sport of Kings. But anyway,
the
it's,
sport of Maryland horses.
and yeah, anyway, it was great.
Well,
and
tell me Maryland Million. Where is
so
Maryland Million right now?
It'll be our 37th anniversary this year on October 22nd at Laurel. And Laurel is all revamped the tracks. They've worked hard on the turf course and the tracks, so we're happy to have that done. It's the biggest event day at Laurel, and it's really the second biggest event day after Preakness.
It's Maryland's Day at the races.
Yeah, we call it Maryland's Day at the Races because it's focused on Maryland, which is what Jim McKay loved. And a funny story about my favorite race on Maryland Million Day, and I've been there for every year, and probably Jim McKay's favorite was he had a horse that he ran one year. And the horse's name was Sean's Ferrari, because apparently Sean wanted a Ferrari one year, and Jim bought this horse for him instead.
I'm going to tell
That's
Sean.
your Sean. Yeah.
Sean will remember. So the horse was running on Maryland Million Day, and he was not a longest shot, but he was not a top pick either. But Billy Boniface trained him, great trainer, brought in a famous jockey, Lafitte Pinkai, who at that point was the top of the heap. And they came.
I met his kid.
Yeah.
He's a commentator.
So they were coming down the stretch, and Sean's Ferrari's about third or fourth, but it felt like and looked like Lafitte Pinkai just like picked the horse up. He just worked him so hard, he ended up winning by a nose. And Jim McKay was speechless. I mean, he was just like, and I think he did acknowledge it as one of his favorite moments because his own horse, as many
Named after his son.
as many derbies as he saw
Right.
and Preaknesses, that was his horse, and he and his son, and it was a great race because literally the horse shouldn't have won. I think Lafitte Pinkai got a big bonus for that one.
Are you
Anyway,
going to get the Breeders' Cup here?
not anytime soon. They are going to redevelop and redo the tracks, and Pimlico and Laurel here. So I would think down the road a piece. Right now they're still going back and forth between California and Kentucky. We hope to, but I think right now the capacity for the tracks, they're going to be at Keeneland this year, and Keeneland is comparable size-wise to Laurel or Pimlico, and they build it all out with tents, so it can be done, but I think we
Saw them do that for a golf tournament over here
Yeah,
last year.
yeah.
That's what it is.
But we still need new facilities. Pimlico is, woefully needs repair and
know
new,
that.
and
Yeah.
so and Laurel needs to. There hasn't been a lot of money spent on it, so I think in the next 3 or 4 years, when the tracks are both redone and new and shiny, there's a chance.
All right, I'm about to make Ross light up here before we end things, okay? So I've been on the air 31 years, hence the 31 crab cakes, and 31 years on the radio.
Wow,
Right.
good
Before
for you.
Before you and I were before that, right? So I was, for years and years, I had a horse racing guy on the air who would always tell me, you haven't been anywhere until you've been to Saratoga, right? So the Travers became something. Marty McGee and I, every year in May when I'd have Marty on or Dick Girardi is still talking about going to the Palestra. We haven't done that in Philadelphia yet, but for basketball. So I have these bucket list things I want to do, and Saratoga was one of them for years and years, and I never got there, the spa, right, and all that. Hootie and the Blowfish was playing up there about 4 summers ago when they reunited.
Right.
And my wife didn't get to go to the Philly show. She didn't get to go to the D.C. show. I'm friends with the band. We were in New York at a friend's house on a Saturday. We went up to see Barbra Streisand on a Friday night. We woke up Saturday. We were going to spend the day in New York. And I looked down and saw Hootie and the Blowfish was there, and it was in August. And I'm like, well, it's not Travers weekend because it wasn't. It was later than that. And I looked and I'm like, how far is Saratoga from New York City? We rented a car at the Newark airport. We drove up 87.
About an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's not
we
far.
We drove up straight to Saratoga, parked the car like across the street for free. It was like 3:30 now. It was late in the afternoon. And we went in there, and I had friends that had like boxes that day and stuff. What a unbelievable. My wife didn't Google it or look it up or like know much about it. She got there, she's like, I'm in like a 1965 postcard.
Stepping back
Like,
in history.
it was like totally.
Yeah.
And I got the fried chicken at Hattie's. No offense to my friends. It's Chicken Palooza at Royal Farms. I love you. Really good fried chicken, right? Memorable. But I had an unbelievable day there. I
Yeah.
mean, I had a day there that I would say to anyone, if you want to do something really cool, go to Saratoga.
And guess what?
And I've been to Del Mar. I've been to Gulfstream. I've been to nice parks.
The best horses in the world are
And
there
guess
right
what?
now.
We've got a Maryland guy, Joe Clancy, that runs a daily newspaper up there called the Saratoga Special.
He's the editor of our magazine.
He's the editor of Cricket's Maryland Horse Magazine.
Yeah.
I saw Jack Knowles' business card. He gave it to me. Sackatoble Say.
Yeah.
I know Jack a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, come on your show anytime. He's a talker. He loves
Yeah.
going on. The people that love horse racing always make time and want to be a part of it. And I think those shared stories, like I'm sitting here, I went to Saratoga. How about that? Where's your favorite place to go? Do you guys, are you touristy about your horse racing? Like,
I like to have done it all. I've been to most of the races.
You've been to the Derby, yeah?
I've been to the Derby. I've been to all of them. I have not been to Del Mar, but I need to get out west. But other than that,
I've been to 8 Derbies, and the Derby's the best event in America.
You want to do them all, I think, and then do some steeplechase races and some horse shows.
Yeah. Right now, I would say the thing to experience in Maryland is Fair Hill and the new 5-star.
In
There are only
October.
7 of these events in the world.
Tell me about it, because I don't know anything about
Maryland has one of them. We had the initial one last year. Fair Hill is up in Cecil County. 6,000 pristine acres.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It is absolutely gorgeous. Filled with 130 miles of riding trails. There are
biking
trails, bird
walking
watchers,
trails.
hikers. Everyone uses that park up there. It's amazing. It's owned by the state of Maryland, run by the Department of Natural
How far off 95?
10 miles.
20 minutes.
20 minutes,
Yeah,
okay.
10 miles.
20 minutes. You see
North?
the signs for it.
Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough.
As you go up 95.
Toward northeast, up Rising
After,
Sun?
yes.
Yeah, it's
yes,
northeast.
It's the same exit.
Northeast.
It's northeast. You turn right to go to northeast. You turn left to go to Fair Hill. And we'll go up there,
When is it?
Nestor.
Yeah.
October 13th to 16th.
Weekend before Maryland Million.
Yeah, weekend before Maryland Million.
yes.
So you can
my
do
birthday
both.
weekend.
Oh,
Oh,
there you
my
go.
God.
For my 54th birthday,
Ross
I
is
went to
gonna-
Cecil County with
Shouldn't
Ross
have told
Peddicord.
Ross
There
that.
you go. We got friends from Ireland coming over. I mean, you're
Yeah.
going to have...
And there's a beautiful training center right across the road from
Last
the
year,
event
the Queen of
space.
England's granddaughter brought her horse and
Yes.
rode in it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have a stout
There
before
you
this is
go.
over with.
And it's some of the greatest riders in the world came. It's a 4-day event where the same horse and rider, they do 3 different disciplines: dressage, cross-country jumping, which you're not going to believe when you see the fences they have to jump, and then they come back the last day for stadium jumping. And whoever gets the lowest score wins.
Well, I've lost my wife for my birthday weekend.
And,
no, absolutely.
Oh my
It-
God!
yeah.
And
you'd love it too. I mean, we'll
it
get you
would
a
be
cake
great.
or
I love
something.
We
horses.
need to get Roderick's up there
I like
too.
Yeah.
people. I like
you should
stout.
you should do that, and then
And
we'll-
it's you warm up for the Maryland Million the next weekend,
And then
which
you've
is horse racing.
got
which is great.
Washington Horse Show.
And then
coming
after
to
that, we
Prince
have the
George's.
Washington Horse Show at, and that's televised all over the world. A big show jumping event. Jessica Springsteen, we hope, will be there.
I knew it was going to come back to Springsteen.
There you go.
It's going to suck me in. Got a wife and kids in Baltimore, Jack. Welcome to Maryland Horse Country. Horses are our heritage. The Maryland Department of Agriculture. We got people involved in horse racing here. Cricket Goodall is our guest, as Ross Peddicord. And I don't know why I've done 31 years of radio and haven't had you on more often.
Yeah,
I
no.
stand fully embarrassed, and I apologize to
We'll
you.
get you out, and you
Yeah.
and your wife out riding at full moon, and
There
we'll
we
go
go.
up to Fair Hill to the 5-star.
We'll make a
and
rider out of
go
you.
to
yeah.
Maryland Million
Yeah.
and
God, I
have a
hurt down
blast.
here already just thinking about it.
Right.
Thank you for playing referee
Yeah,
in this
no.
mess.
Yeah.
I love to go
She was
everywhere
worried
with
about her
Ross.
hair and the camera and the wind.
And I have
and
no hair. Hence
Marjorie's
the
worried about the noise from the trucks going by. We're at full
been
moon.
great.
And I'm telling you what, we're going to have a crab cake before it's all over. It's all brought to you by our friends at the Maryland Lottery. We're letting ourselves play out here today. Giving away some scratch-offs. Here's my scratch-off. The $10,000 Show Me. We have John Martin on, Doug Lloyd this week, talking about the big winner from Illinois and
Yeah.
the Mega Millions.
Wow.
Goodwill is also with us. Our friends at Window Nation. I got the cap on. I'm going to be wearing this out to, let's see here, Cumberland, Oakland, Rocky Gap, Swallow Falls.
Gonna wear it out.
Savage River. We're going to be doing it all. I'm going snakehead fishing later on in the month. But today was horse racing. Got more great guests from Reisterstown. We're in the Reisterstown area. Come on out here to Full Moon. Support local, the Barrett family. If you're familiar with Glendon Grill or Barrett's on the Pike. Same folks now owning the Full Moon Pub.
Wow.
And I'm going to have John Litterman on a little later on. We're going to have a crab cake. I'm having a beer tonight. My brewery is the BC Brewery in Baltimore County. We call that brewery closest to home. So that's where I'm going to be, living in northern Baltimore County now. Thank you very much. I
That's
love
great.
you, Ross Peddicord.
That's great. I love you,
It's
Nestor.
good to see
Thank
you.
you.
Cricket
Thanks
Goodall
for having
joining
us.
us here. Tell everybody where you are in Reisterstown. Get everybody to your place.
I'm in historic Reisterstown, 321 Main Street. Come see the Maryland Horse Library and Education Center. Will be open in mid-September. want everyone to come visit. Thank you. Thanks
All
for
right,
having us.
Go over to Harriman House. Tell John the word
Yeah,
that I'm
yeah,
looking
we're right
for.
across from
Tell him I
Harriman
need
House.
that burger over there. I'm going all these crab cakes. Ross, I love you, man.
Love you,
You're going to get me
Nestor.
on a horse before it's all over
Yeah.
with. I thought we were going to melt out here. It's 110
No,
degrees.
it's nice.
We're
John's
good.
we've got nice
We're good.
breeze blowing.
Perfect.
If I take my hair out, watch, my hair will blow around a little bit because it's blowing in the wind. It's kind of
You
like
could lend Ross some hair.
it's kind of like Bob Dylan. The
Yeah,
answer,
cut
my
that off
friend.
and place it up here.
I'm getting my hair long for the Child's Play reunion in a couple weeks.
I tell you, it looks great,
It's coming in,
Nestor.
man.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Looks great.
It's Paul Lamantia,
Nice.
gentleman's gentleman, Joppa Road. I'm Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We never stop watching the truck go up and down 140 here. We're back for more from Full Moon. Stay with us. It is the Maryland Crab Cake Tour.